Anthony Smith cannot lose to Johnny Walker. And what this means for Anthony Smith if he loses, it's all about how people would look at him. That is the biggest thing. Because he would be looked at as a guy that is at the tail end of his career, that has had the opportunities but fell short, and is now being used as a ladder for these young and hungry up and coming guys. That is how people would look at him. Because people believe that they have an old guy that's just gonna be used as a ladder for these young and up and coming guys. That they will just be used as a tie to Ivasa. People believe that if they see that, they just know it. And that is how Anthony Smith would be looked at if he loses. And he cannot lose. Because it is not just about how people would look at you, it would also be how you would look at yourself. Because that is the biggest thing. No matter how people look at you, the biggest thing is how you look at yourself. And Anthony Smith is a very reasonable man. And if he loses to Johnny Walker, to someone like Johnny Walker, who is young and hungry, and young in terms of his career, Anthony Smith would have an inkling that this could be it. That this could be his last shot. But that is massive motivation. It really is. Because if you take a look at a guy like Glover Teixeira, who would have never become champion if it wasn't for that motivation. Because his motivation to become champion increased the more that he got older. And the psychology is as simple as, I don't have much time. His motivation to become champion grew bigger and bigger the more that he got older, because he started to realize, I don't have much time. That eventually, I'm gonna be 60, I'm gonna be 70, I'm gonna be looking back on my career, and I would have wished I became champion. And I would have regretted it. And Glover did not want that. So when he grew older, his motivation to become champion increased because of one thing. Time. He knew that if he didn't do it now, he would have never done it in his career. He would be looking back on it with his nieces and nephews and told them, man, I wish I could have been world champion. But it is what it is. And if Glover did that, because of the motivation that he has never become champion and that he doesn't have a lot of time, if that is what Glover did, you can't think that Anthony Smith can't do the same thing. Because if that is what Glover did, if you beat a guy in Jan Blachowicz who was younger, who was explosive, who was young in terms of his career, that was on paper supposed to beat Glover. If Glover did what he did to Jan Blachowicz, what do you think Anthony Smith can do? And it's tough. It is always tough for these guys in these positions. Because you have to decide, do you pursue something that you have never done before but put your body on the line and give it everything you've got just to achieve something that you don't want to regret? Because trust me, in anything in life, when you told yourself you were gonna do something and you wanted to do it and you never got to do it, when you're 50 or 60 or 70, you're looking back on it and you're going, man, I could have wished I would have done it. And it is tough. Because sometimes these people, they only get to realize that they would have regretted tremendously when it's too late. And I believe that Anthony Smith can still do it. Because if Glover did that, he can do it. Because what's the difference between the two of them? Both of them has never become champion. Both of them is growing old. And that motivation will grow larger and larger the more you age. Because you know that eventually your time will run out and it will all be over and you will regret it. So if Glover can do that, of course Anthony Smith can. Of course he can. And I do believe that is what he will do on Saturday night.